Do feelings and emotions really shape how gun laws are implemented in America? It's true. Feelings shape our gun laws, and propaganda pushed by immoral and dishonest media outlets shapes the feelings or emotions which drive the support. Our friend Colion Noir did a great piece on this exact topic, and I think we can expand on it just a bit. He talks about how feelings motivate the anti-gunner, but what drives their feelings, and how do they get to the point where their feelings and emotions override their logic and common sense? Well, first, let's take a look at a clip of an anti-gun woman who doesn't base her thoughts on logic, facts, statistics, or meaningful data. Everything that drives her incessant need to ban, in this case, the open carry of firearms in public, is based on her irrational emotions. Yes, her feelings drive her.
I don't want to be out at the bar or at the grocery store or whatever and be looking at somebody's gun. That does feel very much like it's creating an unsafe environment.
Feelings and emotions like fear, sorrow, and anger will motivate some people far more than facts and logic, and the gun grabbers know this. Remember, even irrational or emotionally driven people get to vote, so it's no wonder why Democrats work so hard to influence this easily manipulated portion of our society. But how did this woman get that way? And how many more people are there like her? Well, first, we have to look at how this happens in a country that was built on freedom. Freedom that was acquired because of firearms and rugged individualism. Well, there are plenty of sources that contribute to this irrational view of guns, and they all target the emotions of people because it's well known that the best way to motivate a society to give up their gun rights is to get them to react emotionally. Get them to feel, not think. The way children are taught about firearms in the home shapes the way they view guns as they grow up. Some parents will teach their children firearm safety, take them to the range, and help them develop a healthy understanding and respect for guns. Now, some parents will teach their children to fear guns and condition them to believe that those who own guns are reckless and intentionally putting people in danger. Some children are taught that firearms can be used to protect the lives of those they love, while some will teach their kids that guns are evil devices used only for killing people and they must be banned regardless of the Second Amendment. Many will argue that schools have become indoctrination camps with its majority left-thinking teachers and professors. Not only will those school staff who fear guns themselves indoctrinate children with their beliefs, the environment itself often becomes a breeding ground for gun fear because of the gun-free school zones policies that are kept in place in many schools. Gun-free school zones not only put students and staff at risk because defensive measures have been removed from campus, but the policy itself attracts school shootings, which causes a new level of gun anxiety for students. Then, of course, rather than fixing the problem by implementing armed security, armed staff, or armed teachers, guns themselves are blamed for the tragedy while students around the country are watching and in a heightened state of fear that the same could happen to them. Gun-free school zones allow these attacks to occur, and then anti-gun activists use the tragedy to enhance the fear. There's a lot to be said about how the media contributes to irrational gun fear. We see the strategies every time a killing occurs and a gun was involved. The media will use everything from emotional terminology like gun violence and assault weapon to reckless accusation to false data and even guilt of the viewer by implying that unless they actively support gun control, they may be contributing to the loss of life. But most often, simply blaming guns for the tragedy is enough to manipulate the thought process and emotions of people who are already easily manipulated, even when the gun is never actually the culprit. The media has a magic way of blaming firearms for the actions of human beings, which is why reports of these attacks will focus more attention on the firearm used rather than the motives of the killer or the fact that most often the victims were deprived of their right to defend themselves due to restrictive gun laws or gun-free zones. Not only does Hollywood portray guns in a negative light, but they're also often portrayed as being animated. It's important to the anti-gun crowd that people believe guns are unpredictable and can go off by themselves, even though an extensive list of safety features have been manufactured into modern firearms, making them extremely predictable. But the entertainment industry wants you to see them as having a mind of their own. In this clip from the 1994 movie True Lies, you'll see a gun acting on its own. A gun shooting all by itself as it makes its way down a staircase killing people is the perfect scenario for those who want to manipulate the thought process of others. It's visual proof, albeit manufactured, in the mind of the already fearful anti-gunner that guns are unpredictable and dangerous, even though in reality this simply doesn't exist. This visual manipulation tricks the brain into believing something that could never happen. This is a way of perpetuating the anti-gun narrative that guns can't be trusted. It's a way of animating the gun so it can then be blamed for violent behavior. It's a mind game that some people who can't think for themselves will fall for. It's no surprise that a good portion of our society is afraid of guns. They've been trained that way. Many have limited data, and the data they do have is negative. We build our beliefs on what we see and experience in the world. If our view of the world with respect to guns is skewed or fabricated, it'll influence how we think. It's surprising, however, that we've evolved so much in the ways of technology, infrastructure, and overall technical ability, yet many who live among us can't see when they're being manipulated through these sources or propaganda vehicles. Is it a lack of awareness, a lack of information, or have some been told that their feelings, which by the way they can control but choose not to, should be the driving force of their decision making rather than logic and facts? How many fearful anti-gunners are there in America? Well, it's hard to tell, but there's enough for Democrats to believe that they can subvert the Second Amendment by using them. And they're working to convert more anti-gunners every single day. They've empowered groups like Moms Demand Action, Everytown for Gun Safety, and the Giffords Group to perpetuate this anti-gun fear campaign and be their foot soldiers in this battle against American tradition. Now, these groups peddle lies and fear while standing on the graves of those who have died just to push for more gun legislation. But for every false narrative they spew, there's a truth that counteracts it. And when they put out their anti-gun fear campaigns, it gives us the opportunity to expose them for the liars they are. The guns aren't bad, and the people who try to convince you to believe such things with fake statistics and fear campaigns should never be trusted. Thanks for watching Bullet Points. I'm Dan Wass for Gun Owners Foundation. You can find more Second Amendment content and updates at gunowners.com.